I'm taking on 4 custom maps in BTD6 and we're going to beat them all on chimps. We'll start off easy with a beginner map and work our way up to an expert one. Naturally, we had to start with Skull Peak, one of the classics. I had no choice, the nostalgia was just too much. So we hopped in and I started it just like I would have in BTD5 with a submarine and then using a dart monkey to give it some vision near the start of the track. But after we got airburst darts and camo detection, I had to place down Gwendolyn as it wouldn't be BTD6 without a hero. Now to add another airburst and buff them both with an alchemist and a village. Honestly, the alchemist was one of the greatest additions to Bloons tower defense when moving to BTD6. I don't know why I enjoy it so much, but a tower that buffs others with magical potions is exactly what I like to see. Anyway, we cruise through the rounds, picking up a sub commander, some more subs, and then buffing them with a carrier flagship and a mib. In hindsight, I should have run Brickle with how many water monkeys we placed, but it's too late for that. Now we just need some DDT defense, so I went for the classic Icicle Impale, and to finish off the round 100 bad, we got a first strike submarine. Now to time the ability just right so we don't have to worry about the ZOMGs and DDTs inside, and we got ourselves an easy win. Next up is an intermediate map, and I chose Snake River, another BTD5 classic. I planned on doing 4 completely new maps for this video, but I liked this map too much growing up, so I had to throw it in. It's the last of the nostalgic maps though, I promise. Now there are plenty of good places to build a solid defense, but instead we opted for another water strategy. I was bummed that we didn't use Brickle on the last map, so I had to work her in here. It's only fair. With that, we did a similar start of submarines and a dart monkey and worked towards our hero. Then we got some airburst darts and an alchemist, but this is where we veered off course. I got down a 320 destroyer just in time for the round 40 mob, as it's one of the best balloon poppers in the game for how cheap it is, and Brickle makes it even better with her abilities and passive pierce bonus. After that, it was time to work in our main tower of the run, which is the one and only Pirate Lord. Unfortunately, there wasn't a good spot for this guy down below, but I did manage to squeak him in a bit farther upstream. Not the best spot, but it'll do. The nice thing about this guy is that the first 4 upgrades are super cheap, meaning you can easily get a pretty solid tower while saving up for the tier 5 upgrade. This tier 4 carried us through the 50s, but we hit a snag in round 63 when we were just short of affording the Pirate Lord. We leaked on our first attempt when I tried to get through with abilities alone, but it wasn't enough. I knew that we could win by adding a recursive cluster or a Morglave's boomerang, but I wanted to stay true to Brickle and win with another water tower. So I got another destroyer and confidently hit play. With abilities, we crushed the first 2 waves of ceramics, but with everything on cooldown, a few balloons snuck by at the very end. Luckily, I was doing all this in the challenge editor because I didn't want to grind all these maps to unlock chimps, so we can just hit retry the last round if we fail. But after leaking round 63 twice in a row, I had to break out the big guns. I purchased a 320 glue gunner to counter these nasty balloons, and surprisingly, we absolutely smoked the round. Where a destroyer failed, a balloon dissolver succeeded. Down a few $1,000s, we trucked on and were able to purchase the Pirate Lord just a few rounds later. Then I started working on an Energizer, as I really enjoy the Brickle Pirate Lord Energizer combo right now because of how well they all work together, as the cooldown reduction is amazing and it allows you to get Brickle to level 20 for those massive mega mines. Unfortunately, there weren't any good spots left for this submarine, so I had to just throw it down bottom and pray for the best. Fast forward to round 82, we got our Energizer and our Pirate Lord's pull became incredibly OP. Then we got a MIB for future DDTs and worked towards an absolute 0 to help us stall and increase our ability uptime. Unfortunately, round 95 came just before I could afford the tier 5 upgrade, and we didn't have the oomph to take down all the DDTs. Luckily, all we had to do was get a sabotage ninja and round 95 was ours, and it only took until the end of round 96 for us to be able to afford the absolute 0. This global slow will help out a ton as it combos well with our Pirate's pull and Brickle's mega mine stacking. And with that, we cruised all the way through round 100 and defeated Snake River. Onto the advanced map, Lyne. All we had to do was defend area 51 from the balloons using any means necessary. And funny enough, we could basically put the monkeys on the track, so it kind of looked like we were making a balloon barrier out of monkeys. But with a 3 dart start, we were off to the races. Next, we just needed a sniper for the stronger balloons, and then we could work towards the Druid of the Jungle for that sweet global vine. We hit a few snags along the way, but once we got it, we saved up for Striker Jones, and our plan for bomb spamming was underway. First, we got 2 cluster bombs to handle these dense packs of balloons, then we added a mob mauler and a half for round 40, and right when I thought we could work on the fun stuff, camos completely broke through our defenses, but that was nothing a 220 sniper couldn't handle. This wasn't enough camo popping power for the coming rounds, so the obvious choice was a village, especially since we'll be getting a primary expertise in the near future. For now though, we stopped at a 220 and got our cluster bombs up to recursives for some more defense, and then got our sniper to a 420 main mob to help out with any blimps that'll be heading our way. With this, I thought we'd be able to save up for a PEX, but round 63 had other ideas. So I put another recursive cluster up front and sent those ceramics packing. From here, we coasted all the way through the primary expertise upgrade, and then we spammed mob maulers all around it. Now, I rarely use this strategy as I normally find it boring, but there was something oddly satisfying about placing tons of super cheap bomb shooters near the entrance of Area 51. After we filled out the PEX's range, we got a downdraft helipilot for the leaking ceramics, and then upgraded the front mauler to a mob eliminator. And this, with miscellaneous support, was more than enough to beat Lyne. On to the final challenge, a unique expert level map, and the obvious choice was Epilogue, the most epic looking map I've ever seen. But we quickly decided against it after seeing just how it worked and opted for the funniest map we'd ever seen, BTD6 IRL. Not only is it a blurry picture that looks like it was ripped from Google Maps, but the fact that a road was built around a landslide like this is absolutely absurd. Additionally, placing cartoon monkeys on this picture reminded me of Space Jam, making the map that much better. Now, the balloons alternate what side they start on, and we don't have the most time to attack them, so we had to go with a very solid 2 dart 1 sub start. After that, we got a second sub and were able to save up for Pat Fusty. There was no way that I was going to beat 4 custom maps without bringing in my favorite hero, and we saved the best for last. Then we got 2 airburst dart subs for global popping power and started on our main damage dealer of the run, a top path ninja. One of my favorite strats to do with Pat is 21 ninjas, and this time we'll be running the Grandmaster with a bunch of shinobi buffs. Unfortunately, we don't have the most room, and I tried to get fancy with the villages, as having a double discount for that many shinobis is well worth it, but I messed up and wasn't able to buff Pat Fussy or our main ninja with the village that'll become the MIB. Honestly, a huge mistake that I should have fixed right here by starting over, but at least now the win won't be a piece of cake and should make for quite the challenge. Knowing that we'd lack lead popping power in the future, I placed down an ice monkey next to the balloon jitsu with the plan of making it a super brittle in the 90s. Then we got an alchemist and started placing down a few shinobis so we can save up for the Grandmaster upgrade. How many shinobis you get depends on the map and your start, so I first tried with 8 of them. I wanted to rush the Grandmaster upgrade straight up, but I knew that we weren't fortunate enough to have that luxury. But even with 8 buffs, round 63 leaked again and has become the trend of the video. Anyway, it's nothing that 6 more shinobis and 2 upgraded ice monkeys can't fix. With these towers in place, we were able to afford the Grandmaster Ninja in the middle of round 80. Now to get as many shinobi buffs on him as possible and work towards a super brittle. It was kind of funny that you can place land monkeys on the scaffolding down below the bridge, but if it makes sense for any monkey to be able to balance on there and attack, it would be the ninja, so my immersion was not ruined. We capped out at 18 shinobi buffs, but this was enough to carry us through the early 90s, and we bought a super brittle in round 94. Up to this point, our lack of lead popping power wasn't too obvious, but round 95 made it very apparent that it was our biggest weakness. Even so, we managed to squeak by, popping a few DDTs pretty close to the exit. Rounds 96, 7, and 8 were a piece of cake, as that's what this strat excels at, though I did overuse my abilities, putting us in a very tough spot for round 99, especially considering that leads are our weakness. After several losses to this round, I was scared that we wouldn't beat it, but then I remembered what monkey saved us on Snake River. The glue gunner. Praying that he'd save us again, I got down a 240 glue strike as his ability de-leads affected balloons, and it worked like an absolute charm. And for round 100, we used his ability again once the bad layer popped and the Grandmaster Ninja cleaned up the rest of the balloons. But just like that, we beat 1 custom map of each difficulty on Chimps.